Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I think I emailed all of you that I'm going to change the order of the agenda because the planning department has meetings at 6 o'clock with the ordinance meeting. So their items, which includes 2 planning items and a few CPA items, will be done first because Jamie and Jeff have to get going. First thing up is the approval of the minutes for November 30th. Omar, could you give me a motion?
We'll make a motion to approve the minutes from November 30th.
Second, further discussion, hearing none. Councilor Gomez?
Yes.
And Councilor Riss says yes. The mayor's not here. Is there any member of the public here? I think everybody who's here is for one of the agenda items or is a city. The first thing up then is going to be the $150,000 supplemental appropriation for legal services for the Eastman Union Street corridor. This is a planning department request. The legal services involve, as I understand it, easements that need to be dealt with for 25 property owners along Union Street so that project can continue. Jeff, can you give us a brief summary? Brief. I have 12 items, Jeff.
Yep. Nope. So the purpose of this is for the city to have the funds available to pay property owners for the easements that are necessary for the Union Street project, and for the city attorney's office, who has been pretty instrumental in helping us formulate all this stuff. This is kind of step 1 that we're taking, which is to allocate the funds, and then probably moved to your first meeting in January, and then moved to the subcommittee will be the actual requests for the city to grant those easements, grant the funds to those easements, and that's going to be called an order of taking. And so this is the first step. The second step is going to be much more robust, and we'll have kind of a lot of associated information coming to the council. But the long and short of it is along the entirety of the route, the city needs 2 or 3 types of easements. One is temporary in nature, and it's really to give the construction crews access to certain places on properties. In some cases, it's to tear up concrete sidewalk and replace concrete sidewalk. And those are temporary. And then there are several permanent easements. So in a couple of places, we'll be permanently expanding the right-of-way onto people's property. They're actually, most of them are pretty minor in nature, but they will permanently change kind of the right-of-way a little bit. And then there are some permanent utility easements that will also be associated with this. So each of, and Councilor Riss was close, it's 23 properties, have all had appraisals. And so there will be an appraisal report, just compensation report, and then a copy of the restricted appraisal, which will be introduced by a cover letter, an offer letter that has gone out to property owners. So the next packet for council is going to be, a lot of paperwork, but this is the money attached to that. And so the amount that is associated with paying property owners for easements is about, sorry if I don't have the exact figure, it's about $88,000. And then there will be, an associated cost for the city attorney's office, which would be between $20,000 and $25,000 approximately. But we're asking for the full $150,000 just to make sure, as a contingency, that there's funds available if we need to do more appraisal work or if something comes up unexpectedly. So, I've been working closely with Dan Murphy, the city engineer, who's here. This has been a very long and kind of intricate process with Mass DOT, and so we feel like we're pretty close to the end. So this is a really important step. And then the next meeting, when we send the actual order of taking through, that's a really critical path that we're gonna be taking with City Council. So I have a plan available if you want it. I have a quick summary of the damages, but that's the long and short of it. That this is actually, most of this money is actually going to pay the property owners sort of the fair market value for whatever the size easement is. And again, all that information will be included in the next packet, all the detailed information. So
I don't think we need the plan now or the council. This is obvious. We need to get this, the first step. I think that kind of a plan and will be part of the package you're providing when we
Yep.
do the order of taking. So if I understand it is, this is step one, pay the property owners approximately $88,000 is part of this budget, as well as paying the city attorney fees for getting all of these easements in legal order. And finally, some contingency money in case you need to have more legal services done or appraisals.
Yep.
Is that the long and short of it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Omar, do you have any questions?
No, I think this is really clear.
Mayor Nicole, do you have any comment? I'll ask you all the time.
No, I mean, I would just really, Dan and Jeff have been working really diligently on this, and someone at the mercy of the Department of Transportation's timeline. So to get this funded keeps us basically on their timeline, so we can actually put shovels in the ground at this long anticipated project. So I appreciate the council. I appreciate this committee hearing this request at the end of a calendar year, so we can hopefully go on and get into the late winter bidding for the whole project.
You know me, I like to get finance items off my plate if I can.
Yes.
This will be up for public hearing tomorrow. Is there any other comment from anyone? Hearing none. Omar, would you make a motion for $150,000 to be provided by the cannabis account for legal services and easement Union Street corridor?
So move.
I'll make the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez?
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. Moving on, we're going to jump to the end of the, again, we're doing the planning department issues. The Community Preservation Act Committee has approved 9-0 a change of scope. This does not need a public hearing, but it needs the council approval, because when the council appropriated the money originally for the rail trail, and I'm going to share my screen to show you that account. This is the account we're talking about, the Manhattan Rail Trail account. There is, according to this June 14th expense control account I have, there's $25,000 in it. The planning department wants to move it to improve the rail trail crossing at Payson Avenue. And that's not what the funds were originally dedicated for. The planning department has reached out to Northampton and has found out that they don't need the money, or that the money is not necessary in this account. And I can say for the CPA committee, we're very happy that this money that's been sitting there for years is finally going to be used. Jeff, why don't you make a brief summary of this?
Thanks. Yeah, I think the only thing I really wanted to add is that what we're trying to do with that money is come up with some designs for the crossing at Payson Avenue for the rail trail. And it would also just explore the idea of widening the sidewalk that goes from the rail trail down to downtown. So the sidewalk that runs along the public safety complex and meets up with 50 Payson. And then there is a kind of a crosswalk that comes from Williston. I think it's 19 Railroad Street. It's their brick building, and the crosswalk currently traverses Railroad Street and almost gets you to the rail trail, but it actually sends you into Payson Avenue, and then you hook around onto the rail trail. And for things like ADA compliance and people who might have mobility issues, they're actually not connected to a sidewalk, they're sent into the road. So the project is kind of to realign that area. The target is, if we can come up with designs and a cost estimate, the Mass DOT Shared Streets and Spaces program has another round coming up in January. It opens in January, and it's a rolling basis. So what we're trying to do is come up with design plans that would hopefully be able to be funded through that Shared Streets and Spaces program. So that was kind of the purpose for kind of targeting this money for the rail trail at this time, so that we can be ready for a grant application in kind of the end of January. In the past, that program has funded the new crosswalk on Williston Ave, the rapid flashing beacons that we have installed, and the connection in Nonotuck. And so the program is really oriented at pedestrian safety improvements. And we think that this rail trail crossing is one of the last critical ones. So Ferry Street got upgraded. Union Street crossing will get upgraded with the TIP project, and then this Payson Ave one, and it kind of creates this circuit, this route that might be really suitable for children who are going to the new school. So we're kind of focused on those three crossings to get the students to the new school. So that's kind of the quick summary of that.
Okay, so these funds have been in since 2009, and the CPA committee voted 9-0 to approve it. Happy to see it. It's also connected to the rail trail, and that it's an improvement of a crossing. I certainly, as chair of the CPA committee, I'm very much in favor of using money. Again, this money was already appropriated by the council in 2009, so this is just informing the council, but the council has to approve it, that it would be reused in this manner. Omar, do you have any questions?
No, I do not. And this is common. I just want to make a comment that this is common. We already did with the Old Town Hall a few months ago, probably.
Yeah, similar. We moved money that was dedicated. Yep. The CPA is a little different animal. You can't just inform the council. I think there may be some legal way we could just do it when the CPA, but I would rather have the council approve it, because the council approved the original money. And it's just more transparent, and it's better in case it's challenged. So the council approves this change. This does not need a public hearing, and will be brought forward, Jeff, during the finance committee report. So you're gonna have to stick around for that tomorrow night.
Yep, no problem.
Any other comment from anyone, mayor, or anybody? Seeing none, Omar, would you make a motion to approve the change of scope for the Payson Avenue Rail Trail crossing? The funding is $25,985.
So move.
Second, further discussion, Councilor Gomez.
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. This is approved. Jeff, you're done. Moving on to CPA. The biggest one is the $255,000. This is an interdepartmental transfer request. The CPA approved this 9-0, and let me explain. I will bring up the CPA share, the expense report from June. CPA has been retaining in this account money every year, $250,000 per budget year. In June, we had $750,000 in there. There will be $1 million when the budget is updated, because the city council approved $250,000 more money in this account. So that provides for the funds which City Space is asking to move into a new construction account for the second floor. And let me bring up that budget. Here is the budget. This is primarily because, and I'll let Burns or other members of City Space.
Excuse me, Dan, can you please let Peg in?
She's here?
Yes.
Oh, where did I see that? Sorry, I'm gonna stop the share and I'll bring it right back. Where's Peg? Yay, she's back. Peg? Hi, Peg. We're on to the third item. We're on to the two, you're muted.
Sorry.
We're on to the one about City Space. So I'm gonna bring it back up again. As I said, the funds were already appropriated by the city council through the budget process into the old town hall retained, basically the savings account for this project. As I understood it, and Burns, you correct me if I'm wrong, the Massachusetts Cultural Council Facilities Grant has a sunset clause. In other words, use it or lose it. So that's a $200,000 grant, and along with $55,000 in individual donations, this project, $511,000, will use $255,000 from the CPA. But again, that money is just being transferred to a new construction account. This is primarily to do infrastructure improvement, boiler replacement, electrical upgrades, which will be necessary for the second floor. It's not direct to the second floor as of yet, but it is necessary to be done. And it is something that can be pulled out so that the grant can be used. And the budget's in front of you, and Burns, take over for me.
Thanks, Dan. Yes, so essentially this portion of the project, we found that we were able to phase it out from the full project of the transformation campaign to create the 350-seat performing arts and community space on the second floor. That doesn't just include adding an elevator and outfitting the second floor space for use, but it includes upgrading systems throughout the building. Earlier this year, we found that we were able to phase it out. We talked to our architects to see if there was a way that we could do that. And we found that because this is not directly connected to the systems, it will be, but it can be parsed out initially and phased, and we can expend the funds from the Massachusetts Cultural Council, which we do have to go into contract with. Not only that, but it'll allow for us to, once we expend those funds, to apply again to that funding source for additional projects that will be coming up at the Old Town Hall. Like Dan was saying, essentially this is for HVAC additions, boiler removal, and updating the building's electrical systems. And it's essential to the project to the second floor.
So again, this is just a transfer of funds you've already set aside for the project into a construction account. Councilors, do you have any questions? Councilor Gomez?
No.
Councilor Coniff?
Burns, once secured and once this level of construction is done, what's the next thing on your project plan that needs to be addressed for the second floor? Notwithstanding this money, I'm just curious, what's the next thing?
So we had initially thought that we were not going to be able to phase out the project at all. So this is really exciting for us because we can, like I said, go back to some of those funding sources to take on the rest of the project, which essentially is building out the second floor elevator, the entryway, and which is to the left-hand side of the building, and then adding the amenities on the second floor, which are restrooms, green room, office, redoing the floors, pulling down the ceiling, putting up the ceiling again, and putting in sound baffling. So the rest of the project, essentially, this is a small portion of the project, but it's an important part of the project. And any part that we can get started will make a difference in pushing the project forward as a whole.
Great. That sounds great. Thank you.
And it helps I think it helps others to see that the project's moving forward when you apply for other grants and donations. Comments from anyone else, Mayor or anyone else from the city or city space? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, that was good. We have 12 of these appropriations. I like going fast. The CPA committee did approve this 9-0. I'll need a motion to approve $255,576 to be transferred from the Old Town Hall second floor construction retained city match to the Old Town Hall floor construction project account.
So moved.
Omar, I know you said second, but you're muted.
Second.
Motion's been made. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez?
Aye.
Councilor Coniff?
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. Thank you, Burns. Thank you, City Space. Next item is also a CPA item, and John Mason's here. CPA committee, 2 items for the Park and Rec Department. The first is $5,730 for the historic designation of the Daly Fieldstone House bathroom and the Brookside Cemetery building, and the Brookside Cemetery grounds. By declaring them historic landmarks and having that done, it opens the door to many grants that are allowed. Can you embellish my remarks, John?
Sure, thanks, Dan. Yeah, like Dan said, this is to hire a consultant, Shannon Walsh. She is from the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. She's a historic preservation planner. She specializes on getting forms and reviewing inventory and getting things moved through to designate our buildings as historical. Like Dan says, once that process is complete, it opens up different funding avenues. Besides park grants, it opens up historical grants, which there are some out there. There is one coming up. We probably missed the deadline, but there is one coming up in January as well. But so they are throughout the year. There's many historical grants, and that's our goal, is to get these buildings inventoried and have them take care of all the forms and all the process to get that part of the project done. And then we can start looking at funding sources to complete the project.
Thank you, John. I like this also because we're looking at the library in town to get them to do an historic grant designation, and this is a way you'll see another one like this coming up because it opens the door for many grants. Jamie, do you have anything else to add? I think it's pretty self-explanatory. No?
I think that John did a good job explaining his project.
Any questions from Counselor? Anybody else who's here? Okay. I'll take a motion to approve $5,730 to be funded from the CPA Reserve for Historic Resources account to the Park and Rec Historic Designation account.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Counselor Gomez?
Aye.
Counselor Coniff?
Aye.
Counselor Riss says aye. The next item is also from the CPA Reserve Fund, an undesignated fund. This is a long time coming. The CPA committee was happy to see this. We're looking at the pool. The pool is able to function, but it needs some major work and improvements. And this, as CPA normally does, we need to get designs done so that the project can be shovel ready and moved ahead with grants, especially park grants, et cetera. CPA approved this $14,600 to get that pool up and running, to improve it. It is important to note that John said at our meeting, at the CPA meeting, that the pool is not in imminent danger of closing, but we need to get started on getting these fixed. This could take a while to get all this stuff done. So John, why don't you take it away from there?
Sure. Thanks, Dan. Well said. Yeah, like Dan said, the pool is still operational, but we're on the back nine with it. That's for sure. Maybe even the back 3 holes with it. So we want to, while there is funding available, there has been a shift in park grants and other state grants that are looking to do renovation and repairs to these types of older facilities and pools. So this is a 2-part consultant work. One is with Nationwide Aquatic Consulting, and they are more of the infrastructure, the filters, the equipment needed, types, what size types of contractors to use, things like that. So it's more the pool operation itself, the mechanicals of it. Beta Group, the second part of this is for design for accessibility in shade structures and possible solar, looking at the pool deck and beyond that area and connecting it to other parts of the park, connecting it, better connection to the spray park for accessibility, things like that. So they're going to provide us with designs, and like Dan said, this is all the beginning of the journey to look for funding from other sources to get the pool long overdue of getting that, not only the pool itself operationally, but the surrounding area, and meeting like I said, accessibility and shade and possible solar, there's in green, is all part of this project. So this will fund them to see what they come up with as consultants.
Thank you, John. Just so everybody knows, you mentioned ADA accessibility. The pool is accessible now. I think we have a lift to get disabled people into the pool. So this improves that. It's not that we're not accessible right now. All right, it
That's
was
correct.
something that was brought up at the CPA meeting. Counselors, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Counselor Khan?
Okay.
Nope, go ahead, Omar. You were about to say something, Omar.
Yes, I should raise my hand, but it's the last meeting of the year, so whatever. I just want to make a comment. I think any investment on the park will be great. A lot of people from out of town and town come to the park to use it, and anything that we can do to bring more people, keep that people to come into our park. And we have a great facility, and any improvement to the pool will be great for the community.
Counselor Khan?
John, so this appropriation is really to find out what the work that needs to be done to enhance, fix, improve the pool itself. It's not the actual money to do that. This is to find out the depth and breadth of what needs to happen. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, absolutely.
And then
Nationwide.
will you go after grants? Is that,
Yeah.
you'll get a number?
Exactly.
And then
Well,
we'll
that's the thing.
focus on
is to
that.
to get a number, getting cost, equipment costs, things like that, getting a number of what potential construction costs will, and then that way we can move forward on construction docks, things like that, that's set up better for getting grants.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the planning department is ready to help with all of these, with park grants, et cetera. The park grants have been helping us with a lot of things. And I think Jeff and Jamie have some kind of avenue to them. They seem to give us a lot of money. I like that. Anything else, Jamie or anybody on this? Nothing? Okay, then I need a motion to approve $14,600 to be appropriated from the CPA Reserve Fund and CPA Undesignated Fund for the Nonotuck Pool Restoration Design.
So move.
Second?
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez,
Aye.
Councilor Coniff,
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. John, I'll need you tomorrow night.
Yep, it's on my schedule.
Okay. Item 6, planning department is done. Enjoy your next meeting. The PEG access account. This seems pretty straightforward. I guess it's Hadel, you want to explain this for us?
Yes, it's the receipt reserve account. It used to be a revolving account, but last year state changed the regulation on this type of accounts. And now, because it's a receipt reserve account, we can deposit money into this account, but it is subject to 2/3 vote to be spent out of this account. So every time Lindsay gets a check, it gets deposited into this account, but in order for her to issue this check to Easthampton Media, she has to have the approval or vote from Council and Finance Committee.
Okay. Seems straightforward. Any questions, councilors? Peg?
I do have a question of Hadel real quick. Hadel, is there any way for us to structure this so that we can only vote maybe once or twice a year, where we can say up to $150,000, go ahead, Lindsay, and send it over to Easthampton Media?
So it's a pass-through account. City just keeps 5% of the total revenue we receive. 95 gets paid out to Easthampton Media. In order to do that, we have to have that much revenue in the account to be appropriated. So it will come to the point in a couple of years where that 5% would have that little wiggle room where she would have enough money that she can pay it. So when last year we transferred this to receipt reserve account, whatever was available at that day was voted. So there's a little wiggle room, but in order to increase that room, we have to wait till account builds up that with the 5% money.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Anything else? Anybody else? I have a motion, please, to approve an interdepartmental transfer of $53,000 from the PEG access account and the other PEG access account. One's in, one's out, I imagine. $53,000.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second to approve $53,000 in form of transfer. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez.
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. Councilor Coniff.
Aye.
Next item is a free cash appropriation for the Workman's comp account. Policy renewal. Is this you, Emily Russo? Are you still here?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Tell us what you need. Looks straightforward. We're short in the workers' comp account.
This one's for the 111F, which is our fire and police workers' comp. So I think we had actually hired on maybe 2 more firefighters this year and a few policemen. And so it was just unanticipated expenses as far as how much we were planning to pay for the insurance this year. So just a little bit more in admin fees than we had planned. We had planned on a 15% increase from the previous year, and it just ended up being a little bit over that.
So this will be enough to finish the whole year? I mean, it is only December. Okay.
Yes. Yep. Getting it done now.
Peg or Omar, any questions?
Nope. Still, this is clear.
Okay. Anybody else? Then I need a motion to approve $1,324 from free cash to the workers' comp account.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Councilor Gomez.
Aye.
Councilor Coniff.
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. The next one is also workers' comp for school and city workers. Again, we're probably having to deal with upgrading, unanticipated expenses in the budgeting. Can you explain this one, Emily?
Yeah, I think there might have been an increase in insurance rates because of COVID and so forth. So just a little bit more of an uptick than we expected for this as well. If I remember correctly, last year I ended up having to go for an appropriation too, and I realized that a little later than I had finished the budget. So this was anticipated that we would be going for an appropriation for this year.
So again, this will cover us to the end of the year?
Yes.
And, okay, any questions, councilors? Yep. All right, then any other comment from anyone? I'll take a motion to approve $14,730 from free cash to the school workers comp account and the city workers comp account.
So
I didn't see it. Was your hand raised?
No. Who?
You.
No.
All right. Who moved it?
Me.
Omar.
All right, and you
I
said second?
seconded it.
Okay, further discussion. Councilor Coniff,
Aye. Yeah, aye.
Councilor Gomez,
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm looking down, so if you want to ask a question, you should yell. Okay, hey Barbara, you're up. 27,000 this is the phase 3 to, this is something that I know the CPA committee originally funded. Excellent.
Well, kind of.
Go ahead, Barb.
Okay, so this would continue the project. The CPA was just a part of it. Most of it wasn't CPA, but this would continue the project into the public safety complex and also the Council on Aging. And I just want to make a couple comments. If by chance there were any change of location, this actually would be really good to have done ahead of time, because it will mean the shelving that's used is definitely movable, but it also will have taken care of cleaning out some stuff that didn't need to be moved. So in case there is a change of location of any of those two departments, this is actually a good thing to get done ahead of time. I also want to make a point that we have some shelving that was left over from here in our building that we're going to be reusing. So the original quote had including shelving for all of those areas. But we have discovered out at Whitebrook Middle School in the pool area, there's a bunch of what looks to be personnel records. I have emailed the school superintendent about if they want to haul that stuff back, the company actually thinks that they can accommodate looking at that as well in this same amount of money. So I don't really know what that is in the pool area of Whitebrook, but it looked to me like it was school personnel records. So the good thing is that it kind of looks like we can take a look at that at the same time with this money.
And this is digitizing everything, right?
No, it's just going through everything, looking to see what can be disposed of, and then boxing, and then we put it into a database. I do think that eventually we are going to have to look at digitizing because our downstairs room is already getting pretty full. But at this point right now, it's just kind of going through and getting rid of the stuff that we don't need. And believe me, there's a lot in the police department, and the Council on Aging also has a lot of stuff that they don't really need to hang on to.
But this is also organizes it so that you have a record of
Right.
where box number
Correct.
and what document someone might need to find,
Correct.
which we don't have now. And if we have all this paper, oh my God, it's going to be
Right.
hard to find anything. So
Right.
excellent.
Right. And the retention period is inputted as well, so that when things come up and we're able to get rid of things, we can get rid of things.
And that's declared by the state, right?
Yes, the municipal records retention schedule. Yep. It's just a continuation of the same project, but we're moving on to a couple different departments. I did talk to both Bob Alberti and the Council on Aging Director, and they're good with it.
Okay. Councilor Gomez or Councilor Coniff, questions?
No.
Anything we can do to make being able to search for records a lot easier? Any other comment from anybody? I'll take a motion for $27,000 to be appropriated from free cash to the City Archival Records Project Phase 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilor Gomez,
Aye.
Councilor Coniff,
Aye.
Councilor Riss says aye. The next one is $27,462 for cost of living increases and an increase in the minimum wage. Is this Emily or the mayor who wants to talk about this one?
I can give the spiel on it if you want. Or Mayor, do you want to take it?
I have a little bit to add, and then Emily, you can kind of talk through the rest. So I feel that the COLA is extremely important this year with rising inflation and what our employees have dealt with who are not covered under a collective bargaining agreement. We need to keep pace with inflation, and these folks who'd be affected are on pay plan, and there are no guarantees for COLAs. It's decided year by year, and I feel strongly this is a year that we need to do it. We happen to be a good financial position to do it, and Emily brought it up and then worked on some numbers. So I'll hand it over to Emily.
Go ahead, Emily, you're muted.
Yeah. So yeah, we wanted to raise our pay scale, the whole Exhibit B, from the pay plan scale 2% this January. So that then, because minimum wage is now $13.50, and it's going to be going up to $14.25 this January. So we're just trying to keep up with that. And like she said, there's been a lot this year for people, and we want to keep retention of employees and keep up with the inflation of 6.8% that's been this year. So we're just trying to match that and hopefully move forward and keep up with that in the future.
So 2% for everybody on the pay plan?
Yes.
Am I correct? Regardless
Yes.
of department head or anybody, it's 2%?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. I think our pay plan employees need to be considered. As you said, they don't have organized union collective bargaining, so this helps them. Councilor Gomez or Councilor Coniff, any questions?
No.
No, I don't have any.
I thank the mayor for doing this for our pay plan employees. I'll take a motion to approve $27,462.13 to be transferred from the cannabis impact account to the employee wage accounts for COLAs.
So move.
Second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez,
Aye.
Councilor Coniff,
Aye.
Councilor Rist says aye. Emily, you might be needed to explain this tomorrow night. Okay? All right, see you tomorrow night. Community Relations Committee support. Mayor, you want to explain this one, please?
Yeah, the Community Relations Committee has been doing some work and has been asking for funding so they could put together a proposal for activities or work with some folks around just what the committee can be, what it is, do some community get-together activities. I'm looking at funding structures and related and staffing structures for CRC for the next fiscal budget. But I did want to acknowledge the work and the time and get them the money set aside so they could start pulling off of it to do community outreach.
Okay, and this is going to be handled through your office in the sense of accounting and approval of whatever they do hired or whatever.
Yes.
Whoever they hire to consult or whatever they're.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to hire. I mean, they might have a panelist in. They have several ideas. So I don't want to speak for them and say it's for this. That would, be a decision, and then we'd have to work through if it's an appropriate expenditure and what the process is.
Okay, sounds good. Anything, Peg or Omar?
No, I think it's a great idea.
Yes, and that's going to be my question. Who's going to control that? From where the CRC are going to get the approval of the money, and if it's going to be for the right thing. And I'm glad the mayor's office is going to be part of that too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments? So I'll take a motion, supplemental appropriation for $10,000 from the Cannabis Stabilization Fund to the Community Relations Committee support account.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Councilor Gomez?
Aye.
Councilor Coniff?
Aye.
Councilor Rist says aye. Last item is fairly straightforward. We need to increase to help the retirement board, bring them into the central purchasing postage budget. Sounds pretty straightforward. I guess that's important. Is this you, Jennifer? You had to wait all this time for the last one.
No, that's all right. I just didn't want to, I was doing other things. I didn't want to be distracting. So prior to me being here, this is actually how this used to be done for the Easthampton Retirement Board. We have a postage machine here at 50 Payson that each department uses, and we each have our own code so that it gets expensed to the proper department, and the way it used to be was that the retirement board would come and use it. They would put their code in, and then Melissa would bill them twice a year, Hadel, I think it was. Yeah. And so they kind of got away from that when they centralized postage with purchasing. But in Kimmy's last audit, there was a comment that the way that she's buying postage, even though most retirement boards do it that way, she shouldn't be doing it that way. And I believe she's buying it with the credit card and then being reimbursed. Yeah, so we actually, being Hadel and I also go to the retirement board meetings, and so we kind of brainstormed, and Hadel mentioned that this is how it used to be. So what we'd like to do is get it back that way. We have talked to Kimmy about it, and essentially there'll be a budgeted amount, and I think Kimmy came up with this figure based on what she's done thus far this year. And then we'll get a full figure for next year's budget. And then twice a year, myself or Michael will send her an invoice for the actual used postage. And then it'll be part of her warrant process. So it'll be cleaner on her end. And it's easy enough for us to keep it separate on ours because we do anyway with the rest of the departments.
Okay.
I actually understood all that, and I think it's better than having someone use a credit card.
Yeah.
A much better idea. Hadel, you have something?
Yes, I just wanted to add one more thing. When budget time comes, we'll be adding this line item to the budget, but it is not going to be raised and appropriated because the revenue would be covered by charging retirement board. So it's just a wash. Well, the biggest benefit for this one is that retirement board will save, I think, $195 a month on postage if we go this route, and it adds up. That's why we are doing it. But by any means, it's not going to increase the revenue portion where we have to raise and appropriate for the budget.
I
It
see
will
what
be
you're
all
saying.
covered.
It'll
Yeah.
pay for itself.
It's
Yes.
an
The
account,
revenue
it's
will
an
cover
account that you'll have there to pay for itself. Okay.
Yep.
Anything from either counselor here?
This 1,400 is gonna cover some balance too, or this is gonna be only for the new postage?
Go ahead, Hadel. I don't believe she owes yet, does she?
So we processed the warrant to pay her as of November. This 1,400 includes from December to June 30th only. This is a little bit higher because there is a
Election.
Election.
Election, yeah.
election for the new member. Thank you.
Yep.
Election for the new member, and there are two candidates, and there was a requirement to mail-in ballot. So that little extra is there, but we should see a little bit less when budget season comes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? I'll take a motion to approve $1,400 to be transferred from free cash to be transferred to the central purchasing postage account.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. Counselor Gomez,
Aye.
Counselor Coniff,
Aye.
Counselor Riss says aye. That's all of them. That was
Yes.
pretty good. They're not controversial. We're doing them all again tomorrow night, so they'll be fresh in our memories. I wish, Peg, I could say this is our last meeting with you, but do you think you could have the minutes done and then we could have a brief meeting next week, or we don't actually have to?
I'm totally going out on top. Yes, I'm going to complete all the work that I was assigned to do. Yes.
All right. Unfortunately, I'm not available next Wednesday. I could do a Tuesday 5 o'clock quickie meeting.
As you know, I have a lot of free time now. So
We have a meeting next Tuesday at 5 p.m. doing the same for public safety.
did we?
So how about if we do 5:30?
5:30 will be okay because it's going to be a quick public safety meeting.
We
All
can
right,
do
I'll try to
5:15
remember to
rules.
set up
but-
an agenda. It'll just be the approval of the minutes. And if you could set up the Zoom, or should Barbara do that, Peg?
I can do it.
All right. Thank
Give me
you.
something to do. Give me something to do, Dan.
I will miss your incredible insight into financial matters, Peg. Thank you so much. I'm serious. Thank you.
You're
You're really very thoughtful, very good at this.
Thank you, Dan.
I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made to adjourn. I vote no. No.
Stay here.
Counselor Gomez.
Aye.
Counselor Coniff.
Aye.
Counselor Riss says aye. We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Just real quick before you guys go, I just want to